Hey, Jeff, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing some coaching. And the way it's going to work is I found a student that's pretty motivated to improve, and they gave me permission to make YouTube content out of the advice that I would give. So in this way, I'm making content directly for my student, but it's in a way that anyone who's stuck around like the same level or just wanted coaching from me or what I would suggest for improvement, you'll kind of get all that. So it kind of works like they get coaching and then I get to tailor some instructional content for a wide variety of people. So and then you also get to see like behind the scenes what I would try to do to help improve someone like from a coaching perspective, since I don't know, a lot of times you might see people give one-on-one lessons, but I think you'll see a lot more of the details of like what kind of stats am I looking at and why am I suggesting one thing over another. So without further ado, let's get started. Um, so I have this like Notion stuff. Eventually, I will have the links in the description. It's not quite ready yet with everything. But again, if you want to copy the URL at the top, you'd be able to find everything so far. And so the way that this will work is, actually I'll look at the spreadsheet first. So I'm going to be tracking these things, the chess.com rapid rating, the peak chess.com rapid rating, and the peak chess tempo standard rating. And I'll get into why we're choosing chess tempo for calculation training later on. And while their goal was to get 2,000, I agreed to try to help at least to 1,200 chess.com rapid. Thing is, a lot of people when they're just starting, they really underestimate how much work goes into getting to certain levels, and it's like by the time someone gets to like 1,500, they might reevaluate. Do they really want to try to make the push to 2,000 or not? Like you have to make a lot of progress in chess and see how strong people are playing at different levels before you can just pick. Because like 2,000 is just like a strong number that you can just choose. But when you're just starting out, you don't really know how strong 2,000 actually is. So, but 1,200 should be achievable by most people. In general, I try to market my instructional content for under 1,500 chess.com rapid. And so maybe they get to 1,200. If they're still doing like pretty good, I might try to help them get to 1,500 as well. But I think a big jump from like 778 current or 940 peak to 1,200 is a pretty big jump. So we'll see like how fast that I can coach the person to 1,200. So NainwalPhysics is the username, and and I just have like, okay, October 20th, and these were their initial stats. So I don't think they used Chess Tempo before this. Like I just had them sign up for Chess Tempo, and part of that is because I can see the complete problem history of any user. Whereas Chess and Chess.com, you can only like if I go to puzzles, so they've done 117 puzzles, but if I go to full stats, I only get to see like these last rated puzzles or in learning mode. If they had some, I could see those or like Puzzle Rush, but you can only see like a limited number. Like maybe it's like 20 or 25. Um, so, and then with Chess, it's the same thing. You can't even see your own complete puzzle history. But something like Chess Tempo, for instance, let me find my stats. On my stats, I've done 4,000 puzzles in the standard mode, but like in the unrated mode, I've done like thousands of more. So it's like 73,000 actually. I can go all the way to last, no matter how many puzzles there are. And I could see back in 2008, this was how I was training back then. I could see how long I spent on a puzzle, what wrong move I played on wrong puzzles. So there's a lot of extra helpful things from a coaching perspective that makes chess tempo better for tracking progress. There's some other reasons I like chess tempo as well, but we won't go into too much detail just yet. I think I might actually end here somewhere. But anyway, they've been playing chess for a few months. They have about 1 to 2 hours per day to study chess, and they are motivated to improve. So that's great. So, so when they first asked for advice, I mentioned classic advice I always give that you want to improve at tactics so you can win material, and then when your opponents blunder, trade down and win the end game with more pieces than the opponent. This can get you at least to 1500 without studying much else in chess other than basic opening principles and a couple end games like king and pawn endings or checkmating with a lone rook or queen. So we'll get to test the validity of this as well, probably. Unless I end up like teaching them some other stuff on the way there. But a lot really can just be done by improving at tactics. Like not just your pattern recognition for basic tactics, but also just calculating longer sequences of moves in general as well. Mentioned you always blunders pieces, how to improve. It's pretty much the same thing. You just want to improve at tactics. Yeah, 2,000 in a year, it might be pretty difficult. And reason given, like I looked at a rating probability calculator, and a 500-point rating difference means the higher rated player is expected to win 95% of the time. So starting at 800 rating, it's not enough to just be 500 points higher, but you add another 500 points and you're still not at 2,000. So there's so many layers of skill on top of skill that you have to reach to get to 2,000. That making that goal for a year, it's like, regardless of whether you can make it or not, if you train as hard as you can, you'll get to wherever you are going to get anyway. So it doesn't make a difference if you get there in 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. Like as long as if you have a goal, as long as you eventually keep at chess without giving up, then you can get to the goal. But when you set a goal like a certain rating by a certain time frame, it's not really a guarantee. It's not a thing that you can force all the time. And then sometimes it can make you play worse because you'll get close, but then you'll start to choke, or you'll be really frustrated that you're not making a lot of progress. Even Magnus, he had a period where his rating didn't really go up a lot for like over a year. So whenever you're trying to improve, there's always going to be like you go up a lot, and then you kind of level off for a bit, and then eventually you go up again and you level off for a bit. So you really have to just keep doing what you're doing, and eventually things will work out if you're using correct study methods, or at least just doing things that'll help you improve. And also, as you improve, the amount of work it takes to get to the next level is much harder. So going from 1,000 to 1,500 is pretty easy. Well, a lot easier compared to 1,500 to 2,000. And then 2,000 to 2,500 is way, way harder. It's probably something like even 2,400 to 2,500. It's probably harder than going from 1,000 to 2,000. Like that's kind of like how it is sometimes. Um, okay, so improvement at chess requires. Oops, I'm moving stuff around. Anyway, a lot of you guys will be able to read this later on. So another question you asked was, is making moves without a plan? How can you fix this? And again, I think the thing you want to really focus on, especially the closer you are to beginner level, is just improving your tactics and calculations. So there's a lot of things in chess like openings, middle games, end games, tactics, strategy, positional play. Some of these are kind of similar, kind of synonyms, but there are a lot of different ways you can look at chess, and there's tons of books on each opening and everything. And it's impossible to focus on everything at once unless you just have a lot of time for chess. So, and I would say if you have like 4 hours, 4 to 5 hours for chess, you can maybe build a program that kind of covers a little bit of every area of chess. But especially when you have limited time, you need to spend it where it's going to be the most useful. And at this point, you just really want to know the basics of planning, which is just like trying to get your pieces active. But you don't really need to study too much. Because the thing is, let's see, what did I say here? You just want to improve your pieces, put them in more active squares, and try to identify weaknesses in your opponent's position, and understand what your opponent's trying to do. So these are Jacob Aagaard's 3 questions that he uses at all levels for helping people with their planning. And even if you don't have a plan, making a technically safe move will win you a lot of games at your rating. And then the best advice for actually improving in planning, which is something that I should do more too, is guessing the move to annotated master games. So anyone can look at Narodisky speedrun series or Chess Bros habit series, pause the video on every move, think about what you would do and what your plan would be, and then compare your thoughts with the grandmasters. The more you do this, you'll learn to think like a GM. And in the old days, we had to use books to cover up the next move. It's much easier to do this exercise in the age of free video chess content. And I don't really see this recommended a lot. Okay, and instead they're starting to lose a lot of games against people who beat easily. Again, I looked at the games. We might have time in this video to look at some games. Actually, we're going to go on 10 minutes already. Jeez. And a lot of it is one move blunders. So, like, regardless of if you had a plan or not, or if you knew the openings, like when you make a one move blunder, you can't really progress at chess until you stop hanging things like in one move. Like you move your queen to a square and it can immediately be taken. Like that kind of blunder has to be minimized by a lot. Like a 2000 rated player, they would rarely just make a move like that. So, but the thing is, under 1500, even under 2000, it does happen. And the higher rated you are, the less likely you are to make that kind of mistake. So, but at like the 800 rating, like under 1000, you see it a lot in every game pretty much. So just learning to improve on that would get you out of 1000. Okay. And then I asked how much time he can spend on chess at 2 hours a day. He asked about what about opening problems. I did notice that some games were just lost out of the opening, but by and large, doing too much opening work won't really make a lot of sense because, like, let's say you learned a Najdorf to 6 moves. The people you're playing against aren't really going to be playing into that. And even if you did learn that, that's just in one situation. Like, usually when someone prepares a repertoire, they have like an opening against white. So, like, against e4 or against d4. And then, like, as white, they have to be prepared for e5 and c5, or depending on what their opening move is. So like it only works when someone plays into your opening, but people are going off theory all the time. It's better just to follow the opening principles, try not to blunder, and so it's like it's not a thing that you really have to focus on right now. But we'll see. We'll look at the games and eventually if there's like a lot of opening problems, then we might reevaluate, but we'll see. Yeah, you mentioned you like watching Gotham Chess. So some things like if Gotham, I know he does some coaching videos and he has videos on other things. So I might find some videos that he has on different topics that the student is asking about. But for now, it's like I don't want to overload with too many different things to be focusing on. Like first, just get your tactics training program steady and make improvements there, and once it starts reflecting in the games, maybe then start looking at some other things. But yeah, so I'm recommending choosing a Chess Temple account, and I talked about how we can look at the progress and stuff, and also for free you can just do unlimited tactics. Paying for a membership gives you a lot of other useful features. Um, okay, there's nothing else really there. But what we're using Chess Temple for is calculation training. So the kind of thinking where if I move there, they move there, and you got to visualize positions. Sometimes 3 to 4 moves or more before you can really decide if a move is good or not. Now there's also your tactical vision, which helps more in blitz chess, and also just general candidate moves. And for that, I like Puzzle Rush or Puzzle Storm, and just memorizing tactics and trying to do them quickly. So there's two sides of improving at tactics, and we'll eventually do more of that as well. It's the kind that I prefer to do, like the intuition stuff. But it's easier to set up training on calculation. So, and also it's very useful because most people play too fast. Like even if you're just doing 10-minute rapid games, that's pretty fast compared to an actual tournament over the board, where the minimum might be 60 minutes per player. And if you're playing even more classical chess, it's like 90 minutes per player, and with some increment, like 30-second increments. So you have just a ton of time. That's nothing close to 10 minutes per player. because 10 minutes per player is actually blitz compared to on I think like FIDE categorizes it or somewhere on Wiki, like some over the board is like 10 minutes is blitz, but usually online they put 10 minutes in the rapid category. Okay, so um, also there's that have chess tactics for beginners that I like for intuition training because unlike the main chess servers where, and I did like I have a YouTube series where I go through different puzzle rush patterns and like I show like okay this Anastasia mate there's 20 different puzzles that look exactly the same, but an actual book kind of consolidates all those patterns into like just the what you need to know pretty much without giving you too many extra of the same thing. So in some ways this could be useful. Also it's like less than $10 I think, so it's cheaper than buying a Chess.com membership or a Chess Tempo membership and you just have it forever. So I might recommend this at one point. I might even buy it for them if I think it's going to be like super useful, but for now it's not necessary because we're just going to use free Chess Tempo for calculation training and see where we are. Okay. And then for chess tempo settings, there are some differences between if you want alternate wins or not. So some puzzles, they'll have multiple solutions, which kind of gives you more variety of different types of puzzles, more similar to a practical game, because sometimes when you're winning, like you have multiple ways to win, and this doesn't penalize you for guessing a move that's also winning, but is not the best move. The con is that you do have to keep guessing, and if you guess it wrong, then you don't really get credit for guessing a good move in the first place. So I kind of recommended just having it off so it's more similar to just a common and lead chess, and you're just focusing on calculating the absolute best move, and everything else can be proven wrong through calculation. But it's really just a personal preference. And I have like the YouTube video I put up here for 3 uses of chess tactics. And he did watch this, and he felt like he had improved after watching, and he's been winning some games after doing this and chess tempo. So we're already starting to see like some progress. Um, and okay, let's see. Okay, so again, because he did mention like opening stuff, I asked him what opening principles did he know, because he does play pretty well. Again, we'll look at some of his games maybe. This is already getting to about 20 minutes, but he does seem to know the opening principles pretty well, like control the center, knight support bishops, don't take queen out too early, castle a ASAP. So they do play logically, and it makes sense. Okay, they've been playing for about 2 months, and they're already in the like 55th percentile of players on chess.com rapid. So that's pretty good. That puts them right at the peak of this. Like the average rating 785. And that's pretty much what their rating was when I first started talking to them. So, okay. And then the goal to get them to 1200, that's like going from here to around here. You can see like their initial goal of 2000 is way like this is like the 99th percentile, I think. So it definitely is tough to just and expect it in a year. It's like it could be possible, but a lot of it depends on how hard you work at chess and maybe how talented you are. But yeah. Okay, let's see. What else do we have here? So yeah, I already talked about why I'm doing it in this format, so other people can also see how I would coach someone. So if you did want lessons from me, this is going to be as close as you can get. And if this person improves and gets to 1200 or 1500 or more, then we will see exactly what happened, why, and we'll be following every step of the way this person's progress. Okay. And then I summarize some of the questions that were asked during like that first week, like how to stop blundering, how to improve the openings, how to make a plan. And again, it's like I said, there's so many different areas of studying chess. What we want to do is focus on what's stopping them from progressing the most, and that's going to be the blundering part. So we might visit these other things if they become super relevant, but for now we just want to get like a good handle on how to actively target not blundering and improving at tactics, which is actually very easy to improve. Like once you know what you're trying to do, Because a lot of people, they say, okay, do tactics. And it's kind of like the point I made in this video, is that people can say do tactics, but they don't talk about how or why and so on. And yeah, so in general, just focusing on their thought process for the tactics. So I'll solve a lot of the chess tempo problems that they did, and they get my thoughts, especially on the ones they got wrong. And we should learn a lot. Okay, we talked about the plan stuff already too. All right, so it's been 20 minutes, and then okay, might do another 20 minutes. We'll try to do like 10 minutes looking at some of their games, and then 10 minutes looking at their chess tempo profile that they've been working on. So, okay, let's go to Rapid. And you can see they had a really good streak lately, like they've been winning some games. And this is after doing more chess tempo and watching Mike Greaves' of tactics videos. So they've been saying lately that they've been playing like a lot better. So that's good to see, like instant improvement for the most part. But let's look down here and take a look at, I'll just open up some of those losses, and then we'll take a look at these wins. Okay, so this person was white in this game. And what I'm just gonna do is, I'm not gonna like get hung up on every single move. I might go kind of faster the game just to find something that's interesting to talk about. But this is one thing where, okay, they said they know knights before bishops. Usually when you go e4, e5, it's good to bring out this knight because it gets a tempo on this pawn, because this pawn would be undefended, and then they would have to defend it somehow. Because this move, it brings knight to the center, it defends this pawn, but this pawn's not even attacked yet. And this is a minor thing, especially like if you play 4 knights, where you just go here, then they go here, then you go here, something like that. But in general, it does make sense that going here, they might hang the pawn more often than not. But then there are some like tricks where the queen goes here and then eventually attacks this pawn as undefended. But anyway, let's see what's happening. Okay, so this is already kind of a problem because the king, like, okay, now opening principles, you want to castle ASAP, is because you don't want stuff like this to happen. Once you've moved your king is just in the center. You would have to make so many moves to get it safe or do all kind of stuff to manually castle, whereas black, they could just do that and that, or just develop. They should go here with the bishop, but then move that knight there and then castle. So the fact that this was allowed is already kind of a problem. And I think this move probably is going to be the best, just to kick the queen out, even though you're weakening stuff on the king side, and you can't castle queen side. Well, you could castle queen side, but this is like open, so it's kind of a weakness there as well. But you definitely don't want to do this. Luckily, this isn't a what is this? A pin or a skewer? I think it's a skewer. That would just win the queen, because you can defend with the knight, but this is just really dangerous to have to play this move. And then it also blocks in your bishop, so your development is just much worse than your opponent. So even though they brung their queen out early, it is actually kind of working. But if you play a move like g3, then you're kind of helping your bishop to get developed and stuff, and then you might be able to attack them. So let's look at the valuation. So you see, like with the engine g3, and you're winning pretty much by not enough to super win the game, but like everything else is just gonna be like a little worse, like a draw at best. So yeah, g3 is definitely the way to just kick their queen back where it came from. And then I would probably start looking into stuff like that and then castling. Right, but well, now it's kind of like an end game. So yeah, I do like that. Yeah, with things being more like an endgame, I'm not seeing a lot of tactical mistakes. In fact, you just won like another pawn. So if you look at the valuation, yeah, plus 1.6. So you're doing fantastic at this point. Trade down, just what you want to do. So they took here. I would probably recapture with the rook just because rook's long on open files. Like this is a semi-open file, so it's good while it's there. But now that they've taken here, taking back with the rook is like the automatic strong player move. And if you see this, that is no, it does look like okay, bishop takes d6. Computer likes more too. It goes back and forth. They're kind of similar. But usually the human move you'd want to do is just rook here, and then you can infiltrate onto the 7th rank at some point. But you go here, and then they just defend. So you see, like, you went here, attack this weakness, but then they could just move the pawn, and then they can also get their development out. Similar to, that kind of move is similar to here that you should have played. Instead of moving your king, you just do this, and then that moves out, and then you already have a square for the bishop. So yeah, so but given how this game went, um, with the rook here is not as useful as if the rook was on this f file and able to give the check here and like try to pick up these pawns, you know? Oh, okay, so they attack this, they attack your rook, and then the problem is you can't defend this pawn. If you go here, you lose there. If you go here, they take. So so you were winning up until this point, I believe. Well, not at this point anymore. Let's see. Oh, okay. So it's because you move a4 and then they're able to attack the rook and then win that pawn back. So yeah, so this one really was kind of like rook placement. I think just taking on the open file would have saved a lot and you would have been +5. But you kind of went for something else and then here in particular was just really bad because this is where you do a blunder check. So C-side, okay, you're gonna move somewhere. Want to go here. What checks, captures, and threats does my opponent have? They can take, so then you don't want to do that. Let's see, how long did they spend? Okay, they spent 3 seconds, so definitely want to take a little bit more time, even though they're playing pretty fast. The thing about when you play against someone that plays fast is they're going to be more likely to make a lot of mistakes themselves. And that's given by the fact that, like I said, you were +5 before. All you had to do was just trade down and win the endgame. Like, you already pretty much won this game. But you lost it by playing too quickly. So that's kind of like the main stuff I'll take away from that game. So let's take a look at this one. I don't like the move f3 because it weakens a pawn in front of the king. Because ideally you want to just castle king side, but when you move a pawn like this, you open things up to like getting checked on this diagonal and having to create further weaknesses. So, I mean, you could take and then develop the knight while attacking the queen, the Scandinavian. But yeah, or maybe move this one, but I don't think I would do that. I would usually just take this pawn here. Then they take back, you develop the knight with tempo. So you're getting your opening principles in, and they bring out their queen and have to move it twice in the opening. Okay, they move out their queen anyway. And this is like part of why you don't want, why in general you shouldn't bring out your queen early. Because like you developed your knight while attacking their queen, and so they had to waste more time, and so you have a lead in development. And I probably would look into moving this pawn, maybe this pawn at some point. Like their queen is almost trapped, to be honest. Like if this was here and then you go here, you're almost trapping them. Also, move like this is kind of interesting because it threatens a fork of the king and the rook, and I'm not exactly sure. Well, I guess there's lots of ways to defend it, but let me see if knight b5 is a move, even though it's moving the same piece twice in the opening. Queen d8. Okay, they would have to move the queen all the way back. Okay, I was just looking at it because if they do something like this, you can get the bishop here by trading that. And if they move this, then they're putting a knight on the edge of the board. So this is like pretty good for you. But what you did is okay. And I would definitely castle here 100%. Although your move is also pretty good. But castling not only gets your king safer, but it puts the rook on the f-file. And then you're one like knight move away from attacking their queen further. So they would have to move their queen yet again. Okay, now you're still not exactly castling. I would have castled, because again, castle ASAP, that was one of the principles you knew. But you attack the queen and move it out the way, and then you castle. Okay, this is good. So again, like plus 4, like plus 5. So again, you're doing really well, but we know from the result that you lose this game. So the question is how, when, and this is like even material. And the only difference, the reason that this is plus 5, like it's saying you're up the equivalent of 5 pawns, is because your development is much better than the opponent's. And you're threatening stuff like this. So we'll have to see like what kind of went wrong. I just turn off the engine for now. Okay, still looks good. I would keep the rook on this like semi-open file, like it's lined up with the queen. Like if the rook was on e1, I would probably move the rook to f1 just because like it's just gonna be really good if things open up, then their queen is gonna be attacked. So the rook isn't really doing anything right here. Like this pawn is guarded so many times. The rook isn't, it just needs to be on the f-file, I think. But they made a really weird move because they put their queen on the same diagonal as the bishop. So now they can't even move this because they would lose that. So it's weird that they would willingly do that. They just don't have a plan. Their plan should be developing. Like, they're moving their queen even when they don't have to. They're not castled. They never move this knight. They never move these pieces. And all you have to do is move your queen somewhere, and then your development is complete. Like, usually when rooks are connected, that's complete development. But okay. Okay, now I can see how things are starting to go bad. Because again, them not developing and keeping this rook here is now starting to play a factor because they're going to open up this. What I would do here is probably move the knight back. Let's see what the computer thinks about that. And mainly because if they take, then I can just take back, and their rook isn't really doing anything anymore. But when you take, you give them this tactic where they're checking you and they're also threatening this. So this is where it all went downhill. So again, learning to play a better opening than we did it wouldn't be useful here. One, they didn't go into normal theory. Two, you had a massive advantage out of the opening anyway without knowing anything. So, and then the main reason that you lost was because of tactics here. So they had the worst position in the world, but they kind of got lucky with a tactic that just opened up your king in one night, and they were able to convert it to a win just from that. Because there's no business, they have no business having any type of, like, this is +7. They have no development. You're developed. This is +8 now. So it's really, you see how that one blunder just changes everything. That's why I stress improving at tactics. Don't worry about studying too many openings or figuring out what the plan is. Like when you're up material, just trade down, win the end game, and you would just really want to be looking out for like these tactics. So, but okay, you can move the knight here, so that's good. But then there's still like they have the initiative still. So yeah, now they're coming into net. And now all of a sudden they're playing really well. Like they're moving this, about to do that. That's actually kind of interesting. I think they could have just went here. Yeah, this would have been checkmate in one. So yeah, so in both games we looked at, you were way ahead, but then there was some tactical mistake that just kind of ended it. So that's why I think no matter what, like you play well, you play logically and get stuff out. And the only difference is you just kind of blunder at some point during the game. So we're not gonna look at too many of these right now just for time, but I will look at some of the chess tempo stuff. Actually, hold that back. So in terms of, so this is their chess tempo account. So rated 1000 right now, better than 10%. And what I notice is, so this is the solve time category right here. And you can see like solve time versus the average time. Their solve time is consistently like 30 seconds or faster, basically. Like very few times are they going much more than 30 seconds for the entire puzzle. Let's see, solve time. And then some of those are in-game, so those benchmark ones. So you see like this big streak of missed puzzles. They were almost all under 30 seconds. And you see the average time for all these puzzles is just over a minute. So you definitely play too fast. And that's where one of the blunders where you played in like 3 seconds when you blundered. So the main thing that I'm going to recommend for this person is to spend, and this is what I've done with stronger players as well that help them improve. Spend at least 3 minutes per puzzle before making the first move and just calculate as much as you can. Just look at the forcing moves. Even if you think you solved it, just until 3 minutes are up, just don't make a move. And hopefully you'll start to learn more about the position and see that, oh, before you were just rushing in, but now that you're taking more time, you're seeing more. So that's going to be like the main thing I'm going to work with NainwalPhysics to improve on. So we don't want to see like these 20-second stuff. Like, yeah, maybe you see like Naka doing puzzle rush and stuff, and they can solve things really quickly. But that's only because they've seen a lot of the patterns and they know them well. But when you don't know the patterns well and you're just trying to improve your general calculation, you don't want to do this. Like even for me, what I would do, I used to spend like 10 minutes before making a move when I really started trying to improve in this way. But I also started off just like this person. So I think like if I looked at my first puzzle solves in chess tempo in 2008, you see I got a lot wrong, and my solve time also looked pretty similar. So like very rarely was I going um, over 1 minute in thinking time, and I was getting a lot of stuff wrong. So so yeah, to improve your calculation, you definitely want to spend more time. And here we can look at what the grandmasters and top people on chess tempo are doing. All of these like over 3 minutes, over 3 minutes. Now part of it is because puzzles are harder, but the puzzles they adjust to your level. So whenever you find your level, just try to spend at least 3 minutes, and then you'll get really good calculation practice. So that's kind of my outlook on it. And also, if you see like, okay, Nepo and Carlsen in the World Championship in the classical game, if you look at Chess 24, you can see how long they spend on each move. Okay, here's a 2 minute, 12 minute, 5 minutes, 13 minutes, 20 minutes. You see, even the best players in the world are routinely spending like 3 minutes and above on certain moves. And chess tempo and calculation in general, training is meant to improve yourself at like the critical moments. So really making sure that you are spending more time when focusing on calculation is going to be the best thing you can do. Because not even the top players in the world are just going to do everything at this speed. So you can't expect yourself to improve if players stronger are stronger because they take more time. So okay, so I'm gonna look at some of the chess tempo mistakes. So okay, so like this one that was in 12 seconds. We'll just take a look at that and try to solve this. Let's go here. Well, it's like the end game ones. Usually I don't like them as much. This looks like a pass pawn one though, so usually I would say look for checks, captures, and threats, like what checks does the opponent have? They don't really have any. What captures do they have? They have this stuff and nothing else. Then what kind of threats? Don't really see any. And then so we started looking for our own ideas. What checks, captures, and threats do we have? I don't see any checks. I don't see any captures. Oh, there's this capture, but they just take back here, so unlikely to be a thing. Well, we can threaten stuff by trying to promote this pawn. It's protected by the knight, so at some point they might give up the thing and then we take. So this is like the move I would try to play. And they take, and then I take the bishop. So another thing when you're paying for chess tempo is you can see the wrong move and how often people are making mistakes. So on move 1, people played knight bd7. So 1,000 people did this, but then 400 played the other knight here. So mainly people are looking at these moves, but they don't really do it much. So this was one where you're just trying to promote the pawn. So this one is kind of tough. It's not like your normal tactics, but they played it in 12 seconds. So it's whatever they played. It's like you definitely at least try to spend like 3 minutes before moving, and you will improve a lot and just work on your calculation. So let's see this one. This is another endgame one, and it's black to move. Okay, so this is actually another pawn promotion one, and I am curious to see like what the most common mistake is for this kind of puzzle. But from pattern recognition, I know you go here, the rook takes, and then you can make a queen. If you're just looking at checks, captures, and threats, there's that check and there's that check. And you can't really promote the pawn because they would take. And this, they could just move the king out the way and attack your rook. So this one makes sense because when they take, you can do that. And if they don't take, they just move the king. Then you just take the rook for free. Let's see, what were the mistakes here? Okay, rook to h2 is the most common mistake. So chances are if you pause the video and try to guess, this is what you most likely did. Then the other move that they did was just try to queen. So yeah, so this one, again, if you look at all checks, captures, and threats, and then calculate all the way, then you should be able to see. So these are 2 pawn promotion ones. Oh wait, I lost their stage. Oh, here we go. Let's take a look at another one that they missed. Okay, so white to move. Also, you can pause the video and try to guess along as well. So let's see. Checks, captures, and threats. So for us, so for them, I don't really see anything that they're super threatening right now. I do see if we go here, we're threatening the rook, threatening the knight. So it's just a basic fork. They attack the rook, take the knight. See what mistakes are happening. So bishop takes f7, played 2,000 times. So a lot of people are just doing this. They're going for like the one pawn, I guess. Now 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Usually these tactics puzzles, if you're just winning one pawn, it's not going to be good enough. So you definitely want to try to win a little bit more than one pawn. And another way is like, okay, you see a good move, look for a better one. And if you look at all checks, captures, and threats, then you would see this and this. And when you realize there's both of these, okay, this one is going to win a piece no matter what, pretty much. I mean, it could also do this. Well, no, then you just take that. So yeah, they can't really force a thing for you to do that at all. Let's take a look at another one. Again, pause the video and guess. Okay, a lot of these endgame ones that are tough. So this is the first move that comes to mind. It just takes a piece. The thing is, they will be able to take this knight. And again, for a beginner, I would say this the reason why you want to spend at least 3 minutes before making the first move is because a lot of people, they'll just take the knight and then be surprised when they respond with this. But the point of taking more time is that you want to try to see the whole solution before making the first move. So if you go here and they go here, you just traded knights. So you haven't really truly solved the puzzle yet. Then you look for, okay, in this position, after e takes d5 and king takes f5, you want to try to visualize that position and then identify what checks, captures, and threats do you have after that. And so there's stuff like bishop g6, bishop here, pawn here. And the thing is, if you see bishop g4, it's a skewer. So once the king moves, you'll be able to win this knight. And once you see that, then you can make the first move because you solved the whole thing. Now, they didn't really test you on that. You see there's a lot of comments that says king takes f5, bishop g4 should be added. This is actually a grandmaster. He's actually pretty decent at Puzzle Rush. Let me see, is he in the top? I think I usually see him here. Maybe just on a daily. But yeah, I see him a lot on Puzzle Rush. So let me go to analysis. Actually, I think I can just move stuff here. So they go here, you go here, and now you just win that. So yeah, so that's, we're not gonna try to go too long. Usually in the other videos I'll do for this, we'll keep looking at games and keep looking at some puzzles like this that they're getting wrong, and there won't be too many like walls of text like this, I don't think, for future updates. There might be some questions here or there, but we'll probably get to more practical chess stuff like this and like the other weekly roundups that we do. So that's kind of all I want to cover today. So I'm going to try to tell him that I want him to try to spend 3 minutes before guessing on the first move, and then we'll see how well he does with that while he tries to improve his calculation. And then as I try to solve some of the puzzles that he's been getting wrong, he'll like learn what other things he should be thinking about to use for those 3 minutes. And then we'll start to see like progress in actual games, because you need to not make one move blunders, and part of not making one move blunders is to not rush your moves. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. See you in the next one.